and welcome to She Rides, the podcast where women cycling takes the lead. I'm Sarah.
Christoph, and today we're diving into the latest race results and hot topics in women's cycling.
And we have a guest joining us to share her story. Let's get started. Ready?
Yep.
So, hi everyone, and welcome to episode 33 of She Rides. We're actually in the beginning of the Nationals week, which is kind of a chaotic week to try to follow cycling. So we'll talk a bit about the races coming up and the latest or the new champions. But we also have a guest joining us. Hi, Tara.
Hey.
So just before we get started with the questions, can you introduce yourself?
So I'm Tara Gens, a rider or ex-rider actually from Belgium. I started racing in 2006, so that's already a very long time ago. And then last year I had to retire due to some back problems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you've been riding your bike quite a long time. How did it first came into your life?
My dad was a cyclist as an amateur. He only started off like pretty late when he was 18 years old. But then he started again once he had kids. So I grew up with cycling. But back then it was still a very boyish sport. So my dad never pushed me to do the sport because it just wasn't expected of girls. So it took quite a long time until I was 15. And then just by accident, after a fight with my dad, ironically enough, I took his bike, went for a ride, and I was like, oh, this is actually really fun. So that's how it started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, quite a fun story. Was that the moment where you thought like this is what I want to do, or was there a specific moment later on?
No, I actually just wanted to enjoy riding my bike and riding with the guys at school because we had a lot of cyclists. But I never really had the intention to race. But my dad is very, like short-minded of if you do it, just do it properly. So he set me up to get a license, a trainer, a team. I really had no say in anything. And a few months later, I started racing.
That escalated quickly.
Yes.
So yeah, as you just said, you're no longer a pro cyclist. What are you doing in life right now?
I have a part-time job at a web design firm. So I make websites and I also do social media. And next to that, I also have my own business in social media. So I only work for the firm 20 hours a week, and next to that, I can plan in my own hours.
Okay, nice. Do you now that you retired, do you still have like any cycling goals or dreams left?
Yeah, for now, I just want to be able to ride my bike pain-free again. It was my goal to start experiencing gravel races this year, but unfortunately that didn't happen yet. So
Yeah.
I hope that maybe next year I can finally dive into the gravel atmosphere.
Yeah, we hope that for you too. And is there like a specific moment in your career you're the most proud of?
I had one year, 2015, that was my best year, and funny enough, I combined it with a full-time job being a informaticus team leader. So it was a high demanding job, and next to that, I had a pro contract with the team. So I surprised myself that year with very good results. Unfortunately, I've never been a winner. I was more of a helper, but I'm proud of that year and everything I accomplished.
Yeah, that's nice. And then when you were still active as a pro cyclist, you actually took quite a long break from pro cycling before you returned. Yeah, how come?
In 2018, I quit cycling and I really set my mind that it was enough. I didn't have a team for the year after, and I was also just fine with retiring. But I had a boyfriend who was a pro cyclist, and I wanted to focus more on him and his career. But then only 6 months later, we broke up. I had to move. I had to buy an own house, renovate. Then Corona happened, so it was 3 years pure of chaos, and I was bored, and I started riding a bike again. So it's all I knew.
That's nice. So and then let's take us back to the Cheval Mare days. In 2023, Tara, you got a contract with Cheval Mare, but yeah, then all of a sudden Dualar didn't deliver what they promised.
Yeah.
And yeah, of course, like many continental teams, way too many continental teams, the financial struggles hit hard. How did that impact the riders and the team atmosphere actually at that moment?
Um, yeah, it was very difficult because the management tried to save the team, and they weren't very open directly to the riders from the start because they thought they would be able to save it, and they still believed that Dualar would come up with the money. Um, and then for a moment there were talks to stop the team at the beginning of 24. But after a team meeting with all the riders, everyone still wanted to try and commit and move on, even with less funds. So in 24, we almost had no budget. We had to cut down on the training camps, some of the races, material, but we still finished the year. But unfortunately, they didn't find another sponsor.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. Because at the end of 2024, the team shut down, and well, yeah, obviously your contract ended. Or were you kind of sad to suddenly be without a team, or did you really feel like, okay, it's fine, my time has probably come as a cyclist? And then how did the rest of the team deal with it? I can just imagine, especially for you, it might be double because well, women's cycling is not. I don't want to go yet, or were you like, oh, well, I'm at peace with it. It's okay.
No, yeah, it is a bit double because so many races didn't exist in my first career. Like Paris-Roubaix didn't exist, Tour de France didn't exist. So I was happy to like be part of the movement again and see everything grow. But at the same time, I've been struggling with my health since the end of 22. So I also couldn't deliver the results. So to me, it also wasn't a surprise that, yeah, even if the team would move on, that I wouldn't have a contract anymore.
Hmm.
So I was at peace with, yeah, having to quit. But for the other riders, it was a lot harder. There were riders like Danik Bram. She had many teams folding. Um, so she had a lot of bad luck. She was one of the riders that was going to go to B&B hotels first.
Oh,
That folded, then Chevelmare. Now she's at Hess, who also had
yeah.
issues. So yeah, for those riders who really have the ambition to keep growing, it's very hard.
Hmm. Yeah, and unfortunately, what you're telling, Tara, is quite a classic story on the Conti level. Many teams we saw coming and going and folding, and because of financial struggles. What do you personally think needs to change in order to help continental teams survive and well actually grow? Because that's important too. Not only survive, but let them grow. Let the riders grow.
Um, yeah, I think that's a very hard question. Women's racing just evolved very, very fast, and the smaller teams are struggling because of that. I think also in men's cycling, a lot of continental teams had to fold because of the same reasons in the years before. So I don't really know what the solution could be. I think there's a very big issue at the baseline, and there's also a lot of demands by the UCI, plus the financial part. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think yeah, there should be more teams that um, want to get those like smaller junior teams and under 23 teams to then grow into several categories, but that doesn't really exist yet, except for IG Insurance, for example.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a problem we hear a lot in our episodes. The base is really an issue, and that's
Yeah.
actually where young talents and even experienced riders who didn't get a chance on the highest level, they need to thrive there, they need to grow there, they need to gain experience. And Yeah, all that is, well, you have a couple of very good structured and viable Conti teams, but there's, yeah, a lot of, well, mess going on at the base of the pyramid, I think. Yeah. So hey, back to you, Tara. Your Chevalmere years. Well, those years weren't exactly the easiest for you personally either, right? You started
Yeah.
to struggle a bit physically. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so when I signed with Chevalmere, I was doing pretty good. I was riding as an individual rider and they noticed me because I was having good results. But then in the winter season, in November, I ended up in the hospital with a ruptured ovarian cyst. Um, I just felt a very bad pain in my stomach, didn't know what it was, and I just kept going for a few days until I basically almost collapsed on my bike. So I went to the emergency, and yeah, there they saw that I had blood poisoning because I yeah kept going with the ovarian cyst in my stomach. So then they had to do surgery, and then they found endometriosis, which was a very unknown disease for me at the time. But it's basically, yeah, sticky tissue, to say it very blunt. And they burn it or they cut it out, the tissue out of your stomach. And the recovery took a lot longer than I thought. I got back on my bike way too early. After 10 days, I was already training. I went to training camp with riders who were doing it professionally, and I kept struggling for the entire year. And I ended up having a lot of back problems because of it, and they still don't know what's causing it.
Hmm.
So that's on top of your endometriosis as well, the back problems. It's something
Uh,
completely not linked.
well, they don't know. That's the
Ah,
problem because
oh,
endometriosis can cause back problems. But I had a second surgery and it didn't help. So yeah, where is it coming from? Is it caused by the surgery? Is it caused by endometriosis or is it something else? And still trying to find out.
yeah. Oh, and it's a more common disease than people think. Well, if you
Yeah.
start looking for it, you see it like more people than you would expect. It's yeah, and then it's
Yeah, it's actually one out of 7 women,
mhm.
um, say the statistics, but it's probably even more. But the thing is that doctors very much minimalize it or they don't want to diagnose you. It takes approximately like 10 years to get a diagnosis. So there's also not a lot of research that has been done yet. So yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a specifically women disease. It's just like in sports. If it's only women related, it's always hard to find decent studies,
Yeah.
even in 2025, which still keeps amazing me. But yeah. And then this year, actually, Tara, you were an ambassador for Endo Inside Out. Can you tell us a bit more about that and about the organization?
Yeah, so it's a Belgian non-profit organization that wants to create awareness about the disease. I came in touch with them after I got my diagnosis, and I wanted to find people who are in the same boat because my doctor was just like, take the pill and see you next year for a checkup, and that was really it. So I had no information. I had to look up everything myself. So they started a community of women who have the disease. And yeah, it's really nice to have someone to talk to that knows what you're going through. So I asked them if they were interested in having an ambassador, and yeah, they were super thrilled to have me on board. So
Ah, that's great. And then, hey, just for our audience, Tara, if people might have questions or might be interested in Endo Inside Out, where can they find you? Where can they find the information?
they have an Instagram page and also a website
Yeah.
that you can check out.
All right. And then how important do you think projects like that are for awareness? Like you said, your doctor just said like, okay, just take the pill, Tara, and see you again next year. Good riddance. Like
Yeah.
I can imagine this kind of organization is really, really needed for this kind of rather undiscovered diseases.
Yes, and also because there's not a lot of research, but you can notice that if you talk with 10 women that have it, that there's a lot of similarity still, even though it can end up in different parts of the body. So it's very helpful to share different things, what can help, procedures, or even food-related questions can help. So yeah, it's very important to find information with people who are actually experienced in it, because I've noticed that the women who are experiencing it can tell me a lot more than the doctors.
Mhm.
It's really sad to say, but it's really true.
It's usually not a good thing.
No.
Yeah, and do you support the research as well with your organization and the Inside Out, Tara, or is it just to make more aware the disease of endometriosis?
They are all about making awareness,
Mm.
but they're also in touch with Thomas Maddes. It's a videographer, and he made or was helping to make the Pano reportage of last year. Yeah, a few years ago. There was a TV reportage about endometriosis. So they do help each other to like make it more aware. And there's also other organizations about endometriosis. And yeah, they're trying to push towards more research on a political matter, which is, yeah, it's going the right way. People are talking about it a lot more now than they're used to. And I've also heard that the Warmste Week in Belgium is also all about chronic diseases, and endometriosis is also part of that. So.
Hmm. Okay, that's great. Doing a great thing, Tara, for that organization. So people, once again, if you might have questions or might have interest in more in-depth info about it, go check out Endo Inside Out. It's worth to read, it's worth to look at, and
Yeah.
it's a great cause for awareness.
Yeah, definitely. After maybe quite a heavy topic that certainly needs to be talked about, we can go back to some other stuff too. So next to being a cyclist, you've done a lot of the bike too. DS, race director of the Gooikse Pijl for men.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some more. Yeah, is there something you enjoyed the most in those roles, or yeah?
I think being a DS is what speaks to me the most, because you're still in the action. Um, yeah, I love to help young riders. I also love the tactics because since I was a DS, I learned a lot more about tactics than when I was a rider. It's very weird that when you step out of the peloton, you just see a lot more as well. And I'm just happy that I had to experience all those roles because it just, yeah, you learn a lot. And when you're a cyclist, you don't really notice all the efforts that teams have to do or race organizations have to do. So now I know the other side of the story as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's nice. And then, of course, although it's women's cycling, a lot of staff and structure around it are mainly men. Do you think the lack of female representation is something that needs to be changed and has an influence on the cycling scene right now?
Yeah, I think so, but I've seen it change a lot over the years. When I was a young cyclist, there were zero women in
Mhm.
staff as staff members. It was all men, and yeah, there were a lot of situations that weren't great for cycling. I've also been in a few teams that ended up folding because of those reasons. So I think it's very important that there are more women and that young girls can also have someone to confide in when something goes wrong, or also if it goes about like body image. I think it's very wrong for a male director to go and end up having a discussion about a female rider's body. Like in my time, there were comments about you're too fat, do something about it. These days, I'm very happy that there's maybe female dietitians on board that can help with that. Also, the mental struggles that come with it. So I think it's very important that there's a lot of women as staff members, but you can see that it's all changing very rapidly right now for the positive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, as you said, it's all changing rapidly. So yeah, you've been part of the peloton for quite a long time. So over the years, what are the changes you have seen in women's cycling?
Basically everything. Like 10 years ago, or even 15 years ago, I had to wash myself on the streets. There were no dressing rooms. We didn't have a bus. There were no teams with buses. And now you're almost an outsider if you don't show up with a big bus as a team. So yeah, the financial part has changed a lot. Also at Chevalmer, I had wages. I didn't have that in the years before. And yeah, the program has changed a lot. Almost every men's race now has a women's race, which is great. I always dreamt about riding Paris-Roubaix, so it's amazing that it's there. I literally had some tears when yeah, it was on TV the first time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then aside from the positives, what do you think are still the biggest challenges for the sport?
I think, like I already said, the base that needs to grow. There's not a lot of junior riders. Like if you go and watch a junior race, there's maximum 40 riders a lot of the races, and at the same time, there's not a lot of races. So I still don't understand why there's not more young girls trying in the sport. So something is going wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you go and check out in the Netherlands, they have a lot of races for very young kids, the dikke banden races, like they call it. In Belgium, that's not really a thing yet. Yeah, I think the base just needs to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Also the kermisses, the smaller races are disappearing.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for youth as well, Tara, I coach boys and girls, U17, U19, and where you have to cut in the program of the boys, like, hey, whoa, calm down
Yeah,
here. Like, none of my girls that have to cut their program. It's just like, well, race if you have the opportunity, just do it. Like,
yeah.
if
There's
it's
one
flat
race
or
in
hilly,
Belgium, and
yeah,
yeah,
just race. Or then they
they
say like,
don't. They also don't have the choice in races. It's just
no,
there's this race or there's no race, and
yeah,
that's it.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Or
but
they can choose to ride with the U17 boys, but yeah, I mean, as from the U17 category, that's insane. Like the body evolution is just completely different between boys and girls at that age. So
yeah,
yeah,
right.
something needs to be fixed. So good point you mentioned there, Tara.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I think all the rules are also making it more difficult to organize races. So a lot of races have been canceled this year as well, even for the elites,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the Netherlands. So yeah, it's really a shame.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, let's say tomorrow you have a seat at the UCI table. What would you push for immediately to improve things?
To not have the 40 centimeter rule for next year. Um, yeah, I don't know. I just think that they have their priorities in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Like Charlotte Cole also said, and I think it's very good that these riders are speaking up about it. They're not taking women's cycling into account in any of those rules, and yeah, I think rules there need to be rules, but the way they're like pushing it right now with all the money fees is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Flèche du Sud, which was a men's race, but I went there with a small team, young riders, all under 23. They had to pay to be there. They had to pay around 800 euros to spend that week to be at that race. And then one of the guys was so nervous that he forgot to sign on. So he just didn't put his signature on, and he got €100 fine. And I'm like,
Ah,
what is the UCI doing? I don't understand. Is this the priority that we have to focus on?
Mhm.
yeah,
These are young riders who are trying to make ends meet and just fulfill the dream. And yeah,
Mhm.
he made a rookie mistake. I mean, if a senior guy from 30 years old who's racing his gazillionth race and he forgets to sign, it's like, yeah, hey, dude, you know the drill.
I
This is
know.
fine. But this one was like, nah, that's sucks.
Yeah, indeed.
Oh, poor guy lost €900 for a week then.
Yeah, and also there were feeding zones. I know it's the race organizers have to create a feeding zone that is now fixed this year, but race organizers don't always know what's the best place. You can really tell. And in my opinion, it should be the UCI who checks out the parkour, but also the feeding zone if it's safe, if it's safe enough. I've seen so many races where it's not safe, but it's the rule that you have to take a bottle there. So yeah,
Yeah.
fuck safety. But if you take a bottle in the wrong section, we will fine you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's almost bullying at this point.
but don't throw your arms in the air if you're cheering for your teammate who won a race, right? Because that
Yeah, let's kill
that's very dangerous.
let's kill happiness.
That's oof, that caused a
Yeah,
lot of
I think
accidents.
I mean, yeah, they wanna these people to have a yeah, how do you say it? Like be an example for the young kids, but they're all professional riders. They know how to handle a bike. So yeah,
Yeah.
shouldn't be a priority.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what he told last episode as well. I mean, Demi puts her hands in the air. She knows how to ride a bike. It's world tour level. I mean, that you
Yeah,
don't do it with U15 or U17, I can understand. They probably just completely
yeah,
whacked at the end of a
exactly.
race. Okay, don't do it, guys. But this is world tour racing. This is just happiness. I mean, completely silly.
Yeah, they're killing the sport right now,
Yeah.
I think.
But I think this is actually a good time to maybe go over to some other latest UCI announcements. Um, so the first one was actually that there will be more categories, so the point system will be changed, so it's more fair if you would compare it to the men's, something like that. So we also have a monuments category now. They went for the counterparts of the male ones, so Sanremo, Tour of Flanders, Paris-Roubaix, and LBL. Yeah, questionable move. Okay, it's good that important races are getting more points, and for sure on the other levels it's a good thing. But yeah, it's kind of like still a bit sad if you Sanremo it was just the first time again, and then you have races like Binna who are there since the beginning who
Yeah.
are overlooked again here. So but I think that wasn't even the most remarkable announcements. They also announced yesterday no Continental teams will be allowed anymore in World Tour from 2026. Yeah, I also don't really think it's the way to go. Because right now, if we're looking now, we can't fill all World Tour races with just the pro teams and World Tour teams. That's something. So then you want the Conti teams to promote to Pro Tour level, but a lot of them don't have everything and just can't promote because they don't meet the rules there are for Pro Tour teams. So yeah, I don't know what they tried. Probably just like copying men's cycling again, but yeah, this is not the right move, I think.
I think they want to push the pro team status. I think that's their main move, and yeah,
Yeah, I think it's too soon as well.
yeah, it's a good idea, but probably not in 2026 yet, because what you heard in previous episodes as well, like okay, Conti level, and then especially well, you have Conti teams that are like okay, World Tour and Pro Team level worthy in experience, but you have like the range of Conti teams is very big. And some Conti teams on World Tour level, yeah, they're not always on their place. So I think UCI wants to push more and more towards the Pro Team level to make the World Tour more, yeah, how do you say it, safe or at that World Tour level, let's say, yeah. But is 2026 the right timing? Not really sure, because if you really see like Jumbo-Visma, which is a World Tour team, they already just appear at some World Tour races with 4 or 5 riders because they cannot fill the team with 6 riders in every World Tour race. So that should be an indication that it's still too soon if even World Tour level teams cannot fill all World Tour races with the 6 required riders. I mean, that says enough to me. So yeah, should we go there in the future? Yes, definitely. That's just the evolution that women's cycling will have to go through. But is 2026 the right timing? Yeah, well, we'll see how many pro team level teams there will be in 2026. Let's put it that
but this
way.
is also going to kill even more Conti
Yeah.
teams. Even more Conti teams are going to fold for next year.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
what they want to do, there are already so many smaller races disappearing. So what they are now doing is for the Conti teams who can't promote to Pro Tour level. Okay, so you can't race World Tour level anymore, but it's also not our problem that smaller races are disappearing. So, like,
Yeah. And
Yeah,
then
they're not
and
offering a solution. Yeah.
yeah, and do the same thing in the other direction, like just exclude World Tour teams from the smaller races and give the Conti teams the full opportunity to take a win.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's not the first time that that I'm ranting about that, but like point two
Because
races, like come on, we don't need World Tour riders there. I mean, that's a platform, a level for the Conti riders to experience success, for the Devo team riders to experience success, to try different tactics and not have to worry about World Tour quality riders. I mean, just
are World Tour riders still allowed to race kermis races? Because I think until last year it was, but I don't know if it changed.
That's a good question. That I don't know. I don't. Well, maybe they shouldn't, career-wise.
No, because ones of the last kermis races that I did, there were still World Tour riders, and the level difference is just crazy.
Yeah.
Like there was a race here nearby, and Anna Henderson was gone for the entire race. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
it shouldn't be allowed anymore at this point, I think.
Yeah, and the thing I ask myself is Anna Henderson having fun with that type of winning? I mean, she ruins the fun for you guys who challenge in the local kermisses, who challenge local
Yeah,
glory, let's put it that way. And then Anna Henderson, I mean, is that, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think this was already like 2 or 3 years ago what I'm talking about, but yeah, some of these riders are taken off of the roster for some reasons because they're not fit enough or something, and they still want to race as a training. So for them it's training, but for the riders at the start line, it's racing, and it kills the vibe if they win like that. So
Yeah, same thing I saw with Caroline Swinkels, who 2 years ago took the win in the AG Tour de la Semois. She won twice the 2-day stage race. She won twice. She had no competition whatsoever. And then I'm asking myself, like, you take away an opportunity for young Conti riders, and did you gain massive fun with winning a point 2 race at the Caroline Swinkels level of rider she is? I don't know. I mean, nothing personally against Caroline Swinkels, of course. I'm just mean like, I mean, guys, is this what we want? I mean, the rider herself, is she having like, woohoo, I take credit, I won the Tour de la Semois. If you see what she's capable of, like,
yeah, well, yeah, I think a win is still a win, of course.
yeah,
But yeah, I think riders don't always have a choice where they race. But
no, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
especially in the kermis races, that you do have a choice, but it's a shame that they still allow big riders to show up. When there's enough, UCI races these days.
Yeah. So and then maybe we'll go to the to the nationals. So Tara, you've raced quite a few Belgian championships. What was the experience like for you, and does it have like a special meaning to you personally?
Yeah, I don't know really what it is. It's just a very special race every year. Especially when I started racing, it was one of the only races that was live on TV. So that alone was very special because we didn't have anything else. And also because it was, yeah, together with the men, so you have a lot more public on the side of the roads. And yeah, now they're broadcasting it like the same as the men's race, so it is something special. And it's different to just race with only people from your own country, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, we will take a look at the Belgian championships in the end, because that will also be our prediction. But first, we will talk about some other national championships. I tried to do the requests, but yeah, the information was not so good. So I selected a few with decent information, and I think also quite some exciting races. But first, maybe we will also already say, not very surprisingly, but she did it. Kim Lecour did the double again, time trial and road race. And then just we also have already Dutch national time trial championships. And it's champion, and it seemed to be an easy win for Rianne Marcus, at least you would think so. But Bredewold, again, who is really showing she's on such a high level, beat Rianne Marcus with 9 seconds, which is, I think, pretty crazy. She's like beating Balsamo in the sprint this year. She's now beating Rianne Marcus in the time trial, which is yeah, super strong performance. So we had that today.
Ellen van Dijk was fifth there. What
Oh,
happened?
yeah. I have no idea. There was
Did
also like
something
no
happen? Do
live
we have any
stream.
info?
No, I really don't know, because I wanted to rest a bit after therapy today, and I was like, maybe I can watch the time trial, but yeah, just like no live stream. So no idea. But then we can maybe immediately just go to the road race for the women in the Netherlands, which is the most stacked field I think from all from all the nationals. There's not really like a profile or something, which kind of sucks. But it's kind of like the parkour of the stage Ede from the CIMAC Ladies Tour last year. That was won by Barbara Guarici. They had like a little group, and she was away with like Wollaston, Confalonieri, Swinkels and stuff. And then after they finished, it was just a bunch sprint. So it's like mainly, I think, for sprinters, and also maybe some attacks are possible, but I mean it's very doable for the sprinters. So it will just depend on how much the others are racing, or if they will just wait for the sprint and Lorena Wiebes will win.
Let's go for Cole just for the sake of it.
But Wiebes actually also announced she will try to race and not just sit in the bunch, because in her opinion, she thinks she has more chances if she doesn't wait for the sprint. So in previous editions, she noticed a lot of the time, if her teammates got away in a group, the group battled for victory. And now she wants to be in the group herself, I think. So will depend on the racing how interesting it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's also we don't really have a start list, so it's not very clear. I just know like I think Vollering, Bredewold and stuff are all starting. So yeah. Then we also have in France the time trial and the road race still has to be ridden. So for the time trial, it's actually I think the same parkour for both men and women from 26.5 kilometers. And then let's see who's on the start list. All the start lists are open on my laptop right now. Yeah, here. So Kerbao is on the start list. Labous, I think Labous is probably the favorite. Also now Cordon Rago isn't racing anymore. I don't think there will be a lot of competition for her there. Yeah, I think it shouldn't be too hard for Labous there. We also have from FDG, we also have Lena, Demain, and Géry. And then we have from Cofidis, Boras, Bigot. And yeah, so I think that should be an easy win if nothing happens there. And then for the road race, it's definitely not a flat parkour. It's more climber punchers. It's about 115 kilometers. And there, yeah, I think Labous is again one of the big favorites there. Maybe Music too. So I think, yeah, obviously FDG are there with the strongest team and are definitely the favorites for the win. Maybe who can challenge Victoire Berthaud? Maybe Marion Bunel could do well too. Kerbao, would be Annick maybe, and then yeah. So I think it should be pretty easily again for FDG to take this one. And then I think I also picked the British Championships. The time trial is not completely flat. It's a bit hilly, but again, no profile. So just looking through the descriptions, it's 27 kilometers. And I think we have Anna Henderson at the start. Zoe Bakstedt also had, I think it was in Burgos, had a pretty good time trial. Pfeiffer Georgie. And then, yeah, who do we have? Claire Steels. Yeah, maybe for the Coupe Repsol. Shout out, Christophe, April Tacey.
Yeah.
But yeah, not Eleanor Backstedt, but not a super stacked field there. It's a bit different, I think, for the road race. There again, it's punchy. And we also have a guest at the start, Katie Scott from O'Shea Racing, from the TOB talks. She is racing, and then of course Pfeiffer Georgie. Then we have Zoe Bakstedt. I think Kat Ferguson will also be very good there. I think Millie Kouzes and Flora Perkins are also showing they are racing very well lately. So yeah, I think that can also be quite an interesting race there. So that's kind of nice. But then I maybe think we can start at the thing that maybe feels closest to us since we're three Belgians here. Yeah.
Just one in between, Sarah, because we had our follower McFly. He asked for the Icelandic Championship preview. I think that's
you do your thing.
I think that's one is a wrap for Sigurdardottir, actually, both in TT and in road race. She's
Alright.
like a class of her own, usually. She was faring very well in the mini states championships or Olympics or whatever it was 2-3 weeks ago. I saw the field. It's maximum 10-15 riders in the race as well. But I think short preview, she's the favorite for both. Just give the people what they want. If they ask Iceland, we do Iceland. There was New Zealand as well, but that ship sailed already. So.
But maybe just mention, we know Sigrid Haugstedt is doing both the TT and the road race. And then I was looking on the Italian start list if Barbara Malcotti was racing, but that wasn't available, so I don't know. So yeah, and then maybe, as I said, the thing that feels the closest to us maybe are, of course, the Belgian Championships. We start with a flat time trial in Brasschaat of 20.2 kilometers. Since Lotte Kopecky is starting, on time trial, I think it will be very hard to compete with her there. Actually, I think in comparison to last year, I think more of the bigger names are starting here actually, because we have, I think, two riders on the start list from the podcast, Margot van Pachtenbeke and Julie van der Velde. So that's good to see. Then Norbert Ribeiro has also showed last year and a couple years before her time trial is very good. I think Julie de Wilde will also do pretty good. So yeah, I don't think you can say a lot about that, because if nothing happens, I think it's quite a certain win there.
Yeah, Lotte is in a league of her own. In the
Yeah.
time trial, yeah, it's just like if you finish second, it's almost a half Belgian championship actually.
Yeah. But then maybe the road race. Also, want to give a shout out to the website actually for being so unclear. It's like
Like, that's rather classic.
but in comparison to Zottegem, that was like a proper. But here it was like super confusing. They had like one local lab, because they start with a local lab, and then the big lab more out of bench. And then they just put that as a distance, but they didn't add the extra local labs after the big lab. So that was already like very weird. But yeah, it's, I don't know. Maybe I thought if it was in bench, I expected more like maybe a hilly course, but it's not too heavy, I
Merp.
think.
Is it not the same finish as Banshee Me Bansh? Or
Yeah, it could be. I actually, you can't see much. You can just see it's like really like the map, like the overview with start and finish and bench, and then yeah, a profile. But I think I read somewhere, I don't know where, that from the last kilometer or something, it's slightly uphill. But
yeah, if it's the finish in Bansh, it's normally always the
yeah.
cobbled yeah
Mhm.
section.
Yeah, is it the finish where it was last year, the time trial finish? Because I was there and it was also like cobbled bit uphill. So, but the parcours is yeah, I think could be heavier. Which yeah, but it can always be nice racing. I think also last year was, apart from, okay, it was a long solo, but it was quite an attractive race. We already had very soon in the race some different groups. Not that you could see it on TV, but if you were there, you could see some some groups splitting already. So yeah, we of course have Lotte, I think the big favorite. And I think we also say every year, yeah, but she's there on her own, so the others can try something. But in reality, I think we've seen it's quite a hard job to do. But I think from our guest side, we have some nice outsiders. Of course, Margot, as said a lot in this podcast, she's doing very well. We of course also have Julie van der Velde, but it would be good to see her ride for Rome. But let's be honest, I don't think she would even want to do that.
She would feel so guilty.
Yeah, so I don't think we will
Oh no,
see
I
that.
won.
Then of course we have Mieke Dox, set in December. This is quite of a dream to win this one, so we're
It's your
also
dream jersey,
manifesting
so
that.
we expect Mieke on top.
And then we also have Helene, probably not for the elite title, but yeah, we also have like U23 Belgian championships in the race, so could maybe be a nice goal. Then, of course, we also, not from the podcast anymore, but someone who's been also doing very well, Fleur Moos, also has quite a good sprint she has shown. So that's also one to look out for, I think. So, yeah, we have Julie de Wilde, Marten Truijen, also Norbert Ribeiro, just scrolling through a bit more. And then, yeah, I think.
Shadi Bossut.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I just scrolled past AG Insurance. Then, yeah, Laura de Schepper, I don't think it's heavy enough. Maybe, yeah, Justine is also very doing very good. Yeah. Maybe as an outsider, we also have like Volker Swetsels as a whole is kind of an outsider block, maybe with Valerie de Mea, Marieke Meert. So yeah,
Yeah.
it
Watch Fleur Moors, I think. Yeah, just
we have this many guests at the start, and now you're saying watch. Okay, so no,
we
I
already
don't.
had them as a guest. We might need Fleur Moors as the future guest. I mean, come on.
But yeah, it could be very interesting, but it could also be if Lotte is feeling very well, I think, yeah. And if she can, she will just maybe do solo or like, yeah, it will be interesting to see. I think there will be enough attempts to try to break the race open. We saw that last year too. Yeah, and in terms of predictions, I don't want to start because I don't want to pick. I'm in this situation like I wanna see Lotte win, but then I'm also like, okay, she has the world champion jersey, so it's not too bad if she doesn't win this. And then I'm like, oh, Margot would be nice and maybe doable, but then I'm like, oh, Mika would also be nice. So yeah, I don't know. You can go first, and I'll pick what's left for the winner.
Yeah, just go for the easy one-on-one. It's Lotte's to lose. Let's just be honest. She's even though she's maybe not 100% this season, I think it's still hers to lose. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I pick her on one. And then I go just full guest. 5 Margot van Pachtenbeek and 10 Mieke Dogs. Why not? Just for the sake of it.
Taya, you want to go now or?
Sure. Yeah, I think a lot needs to go wrong for Kopecky not to win. So I put Kopecky on 1, and then 5. I'm gonna say Mieke Dogs because I really want her to do well. And then on 10, maybe Jesse van den Bulke because it's a name that you haven't mentioned yet.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, no,
She's also doing very well, and I
Mhm.
think it's
Yeah,
a
and
parkour that really suits her.
yeah. Now I still don't
Nice
really
addition.
know who I need to pick, of course. Yeah, I'm just leaning into Mika's vibe and saying Lotte has the jersey, the world champion jersey. She can have it for a little while longer. Sure, no one minds. So I'm picking, yeah, surprise winner, Margot van Pachtenbeke.
Oof, what a heartbreak for your relationship with Lotte Kopecky, sir. What is this?
I've thought about this for a long time, and we've talked about it at the table. And this is like the race I don't mind Lotte losing. Okay, it's nice to see Lotte win, but I'm like, I'd rather see other races win. So I'm like, we need a chance for other riders to show themselves, and I think also Margot would just do a good job in the Belgian jersey. She could also show it in the front of the race, and I think it could be nice to also show that. Of course, it's nice that Lotte is there, but it's just not Lotte. So
It's a
yeah.
sitcom plot twist here we're experiencing, Sar. I mean, really, our listeners and viewers are shocked now by your by your prediction.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, I'm just gonna say Margot. I think she deserves it, and I'm just like gonna do Lotte on 2. So yeah, solo for Margot. I don't
You're
know.
not allowed to predict number 2,
Yeah,
Sar.
I'm just like gonna complete it, and I'm gonna put Mika on 3. Because I was also discussing it, like the podium is gonna be, Margot is gonna be on it, Mika is on it, and Lotte is on it. So I think that's a perfect deal. Then on 5, I'm going with Cherry Bosset, and on 10, I'm just, yeah, another guest. Why not Helene Hesters? So yeah, this was actually a very tough decision to make.
You okay, Sar?
Yeah, doing fine. Then maybe just to complete the latest news here, we will do a quick recap of Copenhagen Sprint. Secret Hawks have tried to make us enthusiastic, but maybe we will see echelons and it will be a nice heavy race. Yeah, no. I did
Yeah,
watch.
she was hyping us up for this race, and then
Yeah.
well, it ended up in the Copenhagen sprint as it
Yeah.
was predicted.
But just like really a shout out to the broadcast, 80 kilometers. Did I really need to see it? Probably not, but just to know, like, okay,
Of
I
course
did
you
watch
did,
it.
because April Tacey took the sprinter's jersey, so
Mm-hmm.
you had to watch the full 80Ks.
Yeah, I did watch, but just the thing, we don't see much races have 80 kilometers, not the biggest classics, certainly not the Grand Tours, which was, so it was awesome to see. Same with, I think it was Tour of Norway, also had like 80 kilometers broadcast, and those are two new races. So good to see that the new races on the calendars have a lot of airtime. So that was nice. Then just, I think, a little nice parkour. It was a lot from very open roads to very small and narrow roads. So we saw quite some crashes. We had some DNFs because of that. But yeah, in the end, actually, in the very final, we also had a crash separating the bunch. So we went with a very small group in there. But Weebus was still in there, Balsamo was still in there, Consoni was still in there, and Charlotte de Gaulle was also still in there. Yeah, some fast sprinters, but by now I think we all know who the fastest of them is. So Lorena Wiebes, yeah, won a race with sprint in it. So yeah, it wasn't a very hot take.
Ice cold take, to be honest.
But just to say, I just want to say, I finally, I don't know in how many weeks, I had a 2 out of 3 prediction with Nienke Veenhoven on 5. Sherry Bosset on 10 was just manifesting. So,
But she
but
finished 18th in
yeah,
her
so
first
that's
World
good,
Tour
right?
race back, so yeah, that's a good start. It's promising.
Yeah. But yeah, can you say much more about it? No, it was like, yeah, a sprint classic. Only thing we should
Yeah, and
probably say is afterward we had both, we had Lorena Wiebes, Blanca Vos, and later on we also had Charlotte de Gaulle calling out the UCI for not, for just the race wasn't safe. Yeah.
yeah, and then the classic pattern we see a lot. We saw a lot of Arkea doing the work for Mickey Drummond. We saw a lot of Kofidis doing the work for Emilie Didriksen. But then I was like, girls, come on, just go in the breakaway. I mean, okay, Mickey Drummond and Emilie Didriksen, they're fast, but they're not on the level like the top 5 sprinters they are in the group. So yeah, as he works was in a chair again. That's just laying back and going to the sprint, and then Lorena finished it off as expected. It's yeah.
Yes, she did
Easy up.
say the timing was a bit off because they missed Voss in the lead up, but she
Oh,
still won with legs. So I
okay,
was like, okay,
okay.
sure.
Well, now Balsamo was on the finish photo, so otherwise she was solo over the finish. Yeah, okay, sure, got it.
No, but very good for Wiebes. She also didn't wait to say it. It was immediately in the post race interview. Like the crowds were good, but it wasn't safe. So that was very good. She did that.
Yeah, great turnout, great crowd.
Yeah,
So,
crazy. And so yeah, I do think that was a lot we covered. For sure, nationals. I think we covered quite some nationals. Rest of it was just not finding like Italy, no start list. Only the men's race I think I could find. So, but yeah, I think we had everything right now, right?
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Then maybe we can just ask our guest Tara one final question. Just what's one life lesson that cycling taught you in during your career, Tara?
I thought that was a really hard one, but I wrote it down. I said that things always get better. Yeah, and that pain or bad luck is temporary. Something I learned from cycling. I had a lot of bad luck, but you can always come back better than before.
Yeah, that's a great quote to to end this 33rd episode.
Yeah.
So, Tara, of course.
That happens a lot.
I'm
It's
sorry.
okay.
Yeah. So the only thing that's left for us, Tara, is thank you very much, especially for opening up about endometriosis as well, because it might not be easy for everyone to speak out loud for it. So it's good that you make some awareness of this as well. And again, keep up doing the great work with the foundation as well. Best of luck. Hope your back gets better, gets fixed, that you're at least able to discover the gravel scene in the near future. Let's pray for that. And well, we just want to wrap it up by saying a massive thank you very much, Tara, for showing up on the show.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thank
It
you
was
very much.
interesting.
And all the best of luck, Tara.
Thank you.
So that's a wrap for episode 33 of She Rides. Thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoy the ride.
Absolutely. Women's cycling is packed with action, and we're here to bring you every twist and turn.
Be sure to subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or YouTube so you don't miss upcoming episodes. And if you like today's show, a rating, like, or comment really helps us reach more listeners.
Follow us on Blue Sky and Instagram for behind-the-scenes updates, our hashtag Guess the Guest Game, and more.
Thanks to Tara for joining us today, and don't hesitate to share your questions or topics you'd like us to cover.
Stay tuned for more exciting guests and join our prediction competition. Tag She Rides podcast on Blue Sky to show off your knowledge, and She Rides is powered by KDM Endurance Coaching.
Thanks for listening to She Rides, the podcast where women's cycling takes the lead. Keep watching the fun, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.